Okay, so we're live. Hey, what's up out there, everybody? How y'all doing? I'm the judge, one of the members of All Sides Media, and I promised you guys that I was going to do my a live reveal of my genealogy results from 23andMe. So here it is. We waited 6 weeks, did the results, did the saliva test. For those of you that are interested in doing it, it's a saliva test. You send it back. After about 5 or 6 weeks, 6 weeks maximum they give you, a minimum they give you, you get your results back in an email, and you can jump right in to see it live. So I wanted to share this with all of you, give you an opportunity to see this process, go through this journey with me again, between doing family trees and just being a science buff, a science geek, and a history geek. You always want to learn about yourself. Want to learn about some of the things that make you you. Why do you look the way you do? Why do you behave the way you do? Sometimes even why do you think the way you do? And so with that being the case, I decided to do it, and my wife did it also. So what I may do is once she gets hers back, we may do another one and kind of discuss hers. It all depends on how she feels about it. But if anything, I'll take a look at hers and dive into it and see what it looks like. But for myself, mine is here, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna share the information, man. I'm gonna share my screen and so you guys see the page, and you'll see exactly what I'm seeing when I'm seeing it. So let's see what we got. All right, so that's me. This is all the areas where they were able to pull information. And as you can see, as we all know, and we all would hope, Sub-Saharan African, 86.2%. Sub-Saharan African, European, 9.3%. East Asian Native American, 3.3%. And an unassigned amount, 1.1, don't know where it came from, but there you go. So these are the numbers. This is what you get. This is kind of the summary report that you get. It lays out the entire map of the world and kind of gives you in colors where the majority of your genes come from, and again, what makes you you. Okay? So, as we can see, Sub-Saharan African, 86.2%. Breaking that into more detail, it goes into Sub-Saharan African, West African, 82.3%. You're talking about the Mali, Ghana, Songhai area. You know, as you can see, it didn't go into the Northern African. So you didn't go into Morocco and Algeria and into the Barbary Coast area. We didn't go up that way. We stayed right along that area where, you know, where we know that the ancestors were being taken from, being kidnapped and brought to the United States and brought across the world, really. Not just the United States, but across the world, East and West, both ways, through several different iterations of the slave trade. So what you see here is, again, 82.3% West African, 1.5% Central South African, and a broadly Sub-Saharan African, 2.5. That could be, like, as you can see, coming from East Africa, because you're talking about 150, 200,000 years ago when archaic man was coming up out of that area and they started to spread around Africa. At least that's what the theory is. And so it's quite possible that that part comes from that Sudan, East African, Lower Nubian area, right? That's your boy. And so that's the majority of your boy. That's what makes me me, right? So I know why I look the way I look, and I know why I act the way I act, and why I think the way I think. That's African right there. So you got to think that way the majority of the time. It goes into more detail. As you can see, Senegal, Nigeria. It goes into several different areas of Ghana Empire. And then we go into the European. Again, I'll scroll up a bit so you can see it. There's multiple different areas. So you're talking about in Europe, you're talking about many, many different conquests going on, many, many different tribes, and years, thousands of years of war and everything. You never know where people come from, right? Interbreeding, etc. So we see Southern European could be maybe British or Irish, as you see right here. Northwestern European could be, so you're talking about Irish, Germanic, maybe even just anywhere up in here. There you're talking about less than 1% is the Iberian Peninsula. So you're talking about the Spanish in Spain area. So it says broadly Southern European. There you go. Northwestern European, 2.9%. So you got Southern European, Northwestern European, and then a few other breakdowns in the different groups. But it went right into here a little more. I was a little more tuned in, fine-tuned into this area. What I do know about my ancestry is that my great-grandmother was mulatto, so she was most likely part European and part, well, that's what it means, right? Part European, part African-American, or black, or a Negro. I'm not afraid of the words. What part of European she was, we don't know. But from this, we can just by doing this genealogy test, I can surmise that they were probably from that west part of Europe, from England to Ireland or Scottish or what have you. So we got East Asian, Native American. We're talking about 3.3%. Again, you're talking about. So what I do know about this part, doing some of my history, is my grandfather is from. Those of you that are from Mississippi, I know the Yazoo area, where the Yazoo Indians were, and in the Delta of Mississippi, where a lot of Native Americans was in that area. So it's quite a bit of possibility where that's coming from. But it also tracked all the way down to the Natchez. So you got, if you're down in South Mississippi, we're in Natchez and all that, you had a very large Native American population there. Cherokee, Chickasaw, blah, blah, blah. So it could possibly be somewhere in there. Southeast Asian, I couldn't tell you where that's coming from. I really couldn't. It could be something that's just, that's a remnant from the Native American. We don't know. Based on the Native Americans coming through the, up there in Alaska and going across the Bering Strait and around and then coming down and populating the Americas. So with that theory being said, that's possibly where that came from. I don't know. Could quite possibly be that we know sub-Saharan Africans traveled all over the world. And so there's a possibility that come from that area. But I doubt it. I think that's probably where that's coming from. Broadly East Asian, Native American, again, 1.1%. Could be somebody from that area thousands of years ago, generations and generations and generations ago. So those are it. And then the 1.1 assigned, again, they state here wide range of human diversity, so they really can't populate that. Their algorithms aren't showing it. But that's kind of what you see. So as you see, 100%, they did the run, 86%, 86.2 sub-Saharan, 9.3 European, 3.3 East Asian, Native American. Everything's here pretty much aligns with what I was thinking, what I understand from my history, what I understand from some of my family's history. This kind of makes sense. Actually makes perfect sense. So further down, it talks about the timeline, when these things could possibly have been introduced into your timeline, your ancestry timeline, right, across the generations. And so you'll see most of these occurring prior to whenever my ancestors were, maybe, we don't know, but whenever they came from West Africa, many different ways. Could have came through the slave trade or through other means, but you can see where things started to be introduced into the family. Okay. This will probably be something that I'll take a moment to kind of look at. Again, I love history and I love timelines and seeing when things occurred and how, and kind of put those pieces together to kind of create a circle situation, or just give myself an idea of scenarios that were occurring and kind of helps me understand, put things in its proper perspective as far as historical reference. So to ask the question, what you're wondering where that 1.9% Native American ancestry came from? Here we go. So from it appears that most of it came from my mother's side, which makes sense considering that, again, my mother's father was from that area, and her grandmother was from the south of Mississippi, from in the Natchez, Fayette area. And so it's quite possible that that's where that came from. It's most likely so. That again aligns with what I was thinking. And then of course they say, hey, order a kit for your family member, have them do it, and then you can get even more results because you're going further back into the gene pool. Listen, I'm not even going to try to explain this, okay? I'm going to take some time out to look at this as well. I'm assuming these are the different strands and lines, and you know, I guess it's your DNA for the code, most likely. So that's for all of you. That's something I'd like to take a look at and be able to read in more detail. But I kind of just giving you guys a look at the summary of everything. There are more details that are in here, but I'm just going to give you the high points. Okay, and then it gives you a survey, more details, and you can discuss this with other people as what you see here. Now, let's see what else this thing's got on it. Well, I got everybody here. If you guys are tuning in and finding this interesting, or as interesting as I am, again, I'm a geek half the time, even though I try not to act like it. I'm a nerd. And so for me, this is real cool and entertaining. So this scientific details kind of breaks down, it looks like it breaks down, you know, comparisons amongst other people that are 23andMe users and customers, and they kind of compare your results with theirs. And so it kind of gives you where you kind of sit amongst things as far as your genes and your chromosomes and your haplogroups and all that. It also gives you an opportunity to determine what's the confidence level that you think. What do you think? How do you view the report? Are you confident that this is as close as you can get it? For me, I'm still doing more research into my family's lineage, but so far it looks to be getting close. It looks to be close. I'll say that. I thought there was a part here that actually broke down your. It actually laid out your chromosome. Maybe I'll find that again and do another show. Talks about your different chromosomes that you have, which ones they found. L1, blah, 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 A3, blah, 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 EM, blah, blah, blah. I think it was like EM321, EM23, something of that nature. On my paternal, it'll break down your paternal and it'll break down your paternal and your maternal it'll show you the main DNA markers. That's what it'll show you, your markers. That's what I want. So I can find that. Again, if you got any questions, type it in the chat box. You know, again, subscribe to All Sides Media. We do different stuff like this. We discuss world events. We discuss current events, sports, video games, movies, politics, religion. We just discuss a lot of things, just normal people having normal conversations. And so that's something we do. And this is something that we also got we also have a All Sides Media Appetite, which I started which is me just going to different restaurants, trying different foods. Because I'm always told I don't like to try new things, I decided to do that. And when I do, I'll try to go live whenever possible and kind of get everyone the ability to experience different places, different restaurants. If they've seen it somewhere, they thought about it, and they wanted to do it, and they just drove by a restaurant, and I happened to be there and broadcast, and they said, oh man, let's check it out. That's what this is for. And for any time that I'm traveling or some of the members are traveling, we'll have them do the same thing, because we're all at different places and we do that. So as you see right here, here we go. So it talks about the report. It says the ancestors composition, and it talks about West Africa as far as 82.3%. But then it goes into, I'll go back there. It goes into the maternal haplogroup, L1B1A3. It talks about Neanderthal ancestry, fewer than Neanderthal variants. Okay. Paternal haplogroup, EM132, that's it. And then your DNA family. Okay. So let's have some fun with this, guys. Again, this is new to me. And for those of you that are interested in doing this, you get an opportunity to see what you're getting back and whether or not this would be something that you'd like to see as well. So to go into this, and I would recommend that some of my family do this. I would like to compare results with you and see if we get the same thing. That'll help with the confidence level. I would feel much better if a cousin of mine would do it, and if we have similar results, then it'll show that what they're doing here is pretty close. Again, this is for entertainment for me. It's also just for common knowledge and understanding. Again, I'm a science nerd. I love history, and anytime I can anytime I can do something like this, even if it's something to do. Again, I find it interesting. So looking at this, it talks about the haplogroup L, and it dates it back to 180,000 years. Now, I'm not going to read all of this, but if you look up haplogroup L, you look up the last one of L1B1A3. From what I saw here, it talks about the maternal L1B1 traces back to women who lived 5,000 years ago. So that's when this is introduced. But that doesn't mean, but you see these are other groups that have come through mutations and through changes in groups. So that's what you see today, L1B1A3. I could be saying this completely wrong. So those of you that are biologists and genealogists, don't shoot me. I'm just reading this, okay? Again, I'll do more study of it later. It also talks about the branches of L1 that came from the Bantu expansion. For those of you who don't know who the Bantu are, again, look that up, Google it. It'll talk about the group, the Bantu people, the Bantu families. All right, that's what you got here. Talks about the maternal haplogroup through the mitochondrial DNA. So this is done through the mitochondrial DNA, meaning this comes from the maternal side. All right, that's the best way to get the most accurate information is using the mitochondria. So let's go back and look at the paternal. So the paternal haplogroup is EM132. So all you judges, if you guys have done this or you're thinking about doing this, here you go. All right. So it talks about the haplogroup A, 275,000 years ago. And then it goes into these other different haplogroups of DE, EM145, EM96, EM96, and then 56,000 years ago, EM132. And it says your paternal haplogroup traces back to a man who lived approximately 56,000 years ago. So that's nearly 2,240 generations ago. What happened between then and now? They're discovering more about the haplogroup, and new details may be added to the story of the paternal line. So as they're doing their research, as research is constantly being done by scientists and genealogists, you may see new things that come up. So that's me. EM132 today, relatively young. So what they're saying here right now is EM132 is relatively uncommon among their customers right now. So right now, a lot of people who are coming up with this particular marker, they're not necessarily in the system for 23andMe as far as how they're looking at it. So what they do is they get all of your information, they compile it, and the more people they get, the more they're able to crunch their numbers and kind of create a broader picture of these genes and chromosomes and everything. So right now it's an uncommon one, but as more and more come and they got the same one, it may become common. And that'd be something to see, you know. How common is it? But as you can see, it shows it in the different groups. And it said this is found in mostly in West Africa, in the West Africa, Central Africa area. It says that this particular marker is found mostly in again, the Mali, Songhai, Ghana area. And as actually like 40-something% of it is mostly found within the Dogon. So they're like the one group in the area, West Africa, that has the highest number of people with that particular marker. It's the Dogon group. I think it was around 45% of them have that marker. So we already know that there was a transatlantic slave trade. West Africa had a lot of people were taken out of West Africa from different tribes and areas. And so looks like your boy was in one of those groups, or at least his ancestors were, which we all, or at least in my family, we understood that to be the case. And so that's what you got. So that's all I got. And one other thing I wish to do is, it says here, me and Bear in this group were carried to Bahamas in the transatlantic slave trade. So there you go. There you go. Okay. So it already talks about it. I just mentioned it. There we go. It actually told you, it actually says where they went. So that's actually more interesting, right? It's a lot more interesting. So again, what I'd like to do is one day, possibly, right? The ultimate goal is to be able to visit these different areas, try the food, embed into the cultures, you know, get to know the cultures, get to know the lands, and just say, hey, you know, just touch the ground and put your hands on it, right? And just say, hey, this is quite possibly where a person who has genetic influence in my being contributed. And so that's what we do. Maybe one day I'll do that once I retire from all these different things that I'm doing. And maybe after, you know, this thing takes off and All Sides Media becomes a pretty well-known brand. So again, this concludes my report, my results. This is my reveal. You see it when I see it. Again, if you want to try this with 23andMe, drop your email, message me your email, inbox us your email. We'll send you a link. It's always good to do references, so we like to reference, be a reference for you guys to them, and you know, give you guys an opportunity to go on the same journey I just did. You'll see something interesting, something to discuss when you're doing family reunions or you're having get-togethers and you just want to ask questions. It's good to bring that out and say, hey, look, this is what I found. Let's talk about it. All right. This is always a good conversation starter. So again, with that being said, I'm out here. If you got any questions or concerns, you got anything, please subscribe to All Sides Media. Subscribe, become a subscriber, be a frequent visitor, check out some of our archive stuff. We talk about a lot of things. We get into a lot of subjects. A lot of it is real out there. A lot of it's can be controversial sometimes. But again, conversations need to be had. People need to talk, and the best way to do it, why not talk amongst each other and then have the whole world see it, or at least listen to see what regular, normal people are talking about every day. All right. Again, it's the Judge, All Sides Media. Subscribe at the bottom. I'm out.